lived with a drug addict for 45 years, and it was great when it was great, and it was horrible when it was horrible. Her leaving and coming back and leaving again and coming back. Heroin in the 2010s and fentanyl and deaths in 2019. So I was an auto mechanic. I could fix anything. And I couldn't fix her. Both my parents died within a month of each other. That's where the alcohol just took over. And things just spiraled out of control. Found myself outside for the first time. So I just looked to the sky, looked to the sky and said, is there something else we got going on? I mean, you have another plan. And it was kind of a blur after that. And somebody called an ambulance again. They came and picked me up, went to the hospital. I had a little visit from someone, doctor, thing around his neck. He's like, great, you can go right back out there and start drinking again. If you're lucky, you'll die. Because if not, they're going to drag you back in here and cut your guts out, and you're going to have to poop in a bag for the rest of your life. Thanks, doc. I didn't know what else to say at that point. He's like, all right, well, have a good one. Out he went. Half an hour later or so, I'm just like, weird. Nurse comes in, and I'm like, all right, well, what was that doctor? I didn't understand what his take was on this. And she's like, I don't know who. And I'm like, the doctor that was just in here a little while ago. And she's like, your doctor's not here today. And I'm like, well, it was some other doctor. And she's like, no, there's no doctors on this floor. To this day, I don't know who that man was. I know I was there. I mean, it just went away. It just went away.
And that's how long ago now?
Yeah. Over 10 years. Not one drop.
So all your desires just went away.
It just went away.
That's amazing.
Poof.
Yeah,
Just
that's
getting goosebumps.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Lewis with Imagine Marketing, and in a moment, I'll turn things over to Pastor Scott, who is the founder and CEO of Matthew's Hope, as well as Shelley Bradford, who is the president and executive director of Matthew's Hope. And they will be joined by Greg, who is a graduate of Matthew's Hope Moving Forward program. Welcome to this week's episode of Straight Talk No BS with Matthew's Hope, presented by Imagine Marketing. At Imagine Marketing, we put in the extra effort to craft a tailored strategy for success. Book a free consultation today. In this episode, we continue our Real Faces of Homelessness series with Greg. Shelley, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Tracy. Greg, thank you so much for joining us. And let's start from the beginning. Can you share a little bit about your life before Matthew's Hope and what circumstances led you to find yourself homeless?
Sure. Well, I had a fairly decent life, no trauma or anything in it. Skated pretty much through. Had some things back and forth. Lived with a drug addict for 45 years and had to deal with that on and off. Just trying to keep things moving forward. It was great when it was great, and it was horrible when it was horrible. And that kind of set the groundwork for where it got my brain. Just waiting for the next bad thing to happen. And you look for solutions. Alcohol was mine. I grew up in the 70s and 80s where drugs were everywhere and you did them all. That just wasn't my thing. It was the alcohol. I was a lightweight when it came to drugs, but I could drink and I could pretty much drink anybody under the table. So that's, that was my thing. And that was great while it was. And then through life and ups and downs and her leaving and coming back and leaving again and coming back over 40 years and just dealing with, drug of choice at the time, coke in the 70s and 80s, crack in the 90s, pharmaceuticals in the 2000s, heroin in the 2010s, and fentanyl and deaths in 2019. So that was hard on the kids, hard on me. Because I was an auto mechanic. I could fix anything. And I couldn't fix her. Kind of sucked. So at some point, I had to draw the line. She took off again. Both my parents died within a month of each other. The bank was stealing their home basically with the reverse mortgage. For what reason, I have no idea. To this day, don't know why they did it. I don't get much information from my sisters. It was just traumatic. I had to go back and clean out their house. Took me 17 months because they saved everything. That kind of fruit doesn't fall far from the tree.
Never saw that.
Things, yeah. So that was hard, knowing that my house, my childhood home was going away and no one really cared except me. Got through it, sort of. And that's where the alcohol just took over, because I just couldn't deal with the anxiety, the pressure, the everything. I mean, you see things in there that were from my childhood mixed in with packed mail coupons, and I had to go through everything in this packed house, and it just brought back a lot of great good memories, bad memories, just and then it's knowing it's all going away, and all I was trying to do was find a home for all this stuff. And then that's when the drinking just took over. And after that, we ended up in a motel, because they just came and said you had to leave. And at that point, we didn't have any money to get back here. Um, and then that's when things just started falling apart. I get the wife left again, took off with another guy because he had a disability check, whereas I had to go out and work, which was a drag. So at that point, I moved in with someone else that seemed normal. Turned out not normal, very abusive, physically abusive, mentally abusive, like that. And I'm like, what the heck have I got myself into now? Um, Ended up being kicked out of the hotel again because of her behavior. Lost my driver's license for a DUI when I wasn't even driving. Um, Got thrown out in court, but I lost my license for 2 years, even though. And things just spiraled out of control. Found myself outside for the first time. It started snowing on me. First time outdoors, and it started snowing. Um, and that's when my friend called and said, what's going on? And I'd known him for 40 years, and he's successful, like most of my friends are, that just, I was the one that didn't quite get there. Um, and he said, it's over. There's a taxi going to pull up, get in it. It seemed weird. Um, Taxi pulled up. I got in and I'm like, where am I going? He's like, don't worry. And I'm like, dude, kidnapping me? What the hell's going on? They took me to the airport, and then but he texted me and said, get on the plane. And I did. Um, I still remember that time walking out the thing and seeing my friends, and they looked in their look on their face when they saw me was like, oh my God, what the hell happened to you? Um, and it kind of stuck there. I was like, what? And they're like, nothing. And I'm like, okay. So they let me stay there for a while, but the alcohol is still taking over. And I couldn't shake it. It just kept.
That's when you ended up here, right, in Florida?
Yeah, that's when I got here. I'd stay at their house for a few months. And then they're like, if you're not going to do anything but drink, you got to go. I love you, but you got to go. We'll pay for a motel, but you can't stay at my house. So they put me up in a motel over here. It's a budget for 3 months.
Here, yeah. Okay.
And then, yeah, that was New Year's Eve. I remember it very well. It was in there. Yeah, the alcohol was just taking over. It's not to party; it was to survive. And it was kind of a catch-22 because I didn't have to go out and beg. I didn't have to go flag a sign or anything. I could go paint a picture or fix a car and get money, and that just prolonged the agony. So that night, I was New Year's Eve, and I was sitting on the balcony, and there was the neighbors. I don't know if you know how that motel was.
Mm-hmm.
My buddy came by, and we hung out for a little while, and the neighbor girl got mad because he wanted to leave and she wanted whatever. And she called the cops on me, and I was standing there, and the cops come up and say, how's it going? Come to find out, she told them that I was going to commit suicide and jump off the second story balcony to kill myself, which I don't think would have done it. And I had no designs on killing myself. She was just mad. And the cops Baker acted me and put me away. When I came back, the motel was gone. My friends were gone. I spent that night under the staircase, excuse me. And that's when I came to Matthew's Hope and said, here I am. I read about it in a little article in the newspaper or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about that big in the very bottom. And I don't know how I saw it, when I saw it, where it came from. It showed up. And as you know, I showed up there and started working in the garden for weeks and weeks. And then everybody kind of thought I was a volunteer or something, and find out that I wasn't. And then y'all gave me a tent, and I went and got in the woods and thought that was cool for a while. Spent 9 months there. And just kept working in the garden and keeping my nose clean as far as behavior. Still drinking though. I mean, just to survive. And that's pretty much where it started right there. That's kind of where it got me.
Yeah, when in the early days, as long as when you were on our site, and it's still pretty much still today, but even more so then, that if somebody was actively using or someone was actively drinking, what have you, whatever the case is, but they weren't doing it there, for the most part, behave yourself. We're not going to give you any trouble. And that's kind of where he was, but he wasn't going to move forward that way.
No.
That was just going to take him to a new level of survival. If
Right, because I could get things now, and I didn't have to go out and do all that, which I did anyway. But I mean, like I said before, people probably didn't even know I was drinking because it was just survive. I remember, I don't know if you remember the first time I came in your office there, and Cindy was sitting over there, and you guys breached the subject about getting into the program. And I said, well, yeah, I wouldn't mind that, but I'd probably have to go and get medically detoxed first. And Cindy's eyes lit up and went, well, you're fine. You're just fine. She goes, you don't need that. I mean, how long ago since you've had a drink? And I was like, about 15 minutes. So,
Wow.
and it was just, people thought I had a lucid conversation with the doctor one time after I blew up 471. And he was like, I don't know how you're breathing or even talking to me. I would be dead. My nurse would be dead blowing that, but you're having a lucid conversation with me. And I don't understand that. That's just go back on that. That's the professional drinker that I was. So yeah, I mean, that's when it kind of got weird because it wouldn't go away. It just wouldn't go away. The stress, and then even being in that environment like that, it just wouldn't go away. Till that one fateful day, August 31st, yeah, I was in the tent and trying to do the same old routine again, to stay alive, withdrawing really bad for whatever reason. I don't remember what happened before that. And typically, the devil that it is, you get sick from it, but the only thing that gets you unsick is to drink more. And that day, it didn't work. I was a pint into it and still withdrawing horribly and felt like I was just going to die right there.
So, Scott, you've actually talked often about the relationship to substance abuse and people actually using it from their trauma to actually cope. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, I think, what Greg describes is so classic to how this all comes about. I don't think anybody ever makes a decision to be an alcoholic or a drug addict or have any kind of addiction. But when somebody experiences trauma, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, trauma looks different for everybody. What some people will go through a situation of losing um, a parent or whatever and respond very differently than somebody else would. What you had with Greg. This is me stepping the outside looking in. Is first off, he was surrounded by addiction for 40 plus years about someone he cared deeply for and wanted to fix her. And if he just hung in there over a matter of time, that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that just never happened.
Right.
And then when you throw on the last time she leaves, he's got kids now involved and there's all these other things going on. His parents die within a very short time of each other. That's a lot for someone to take on, especially when they feel like everything else they've had is being lost at the same time. And we're all built different. And for, like Greg said, his thing wasn't really drugs. And probably part of that was because of the fact that he saw so much of it through her.
Oh yeah.
That's like, I don't want any part of that. But the alcohol was calming for him. And he was a functional alcoholic, which is one of the worst kinds until you're not.
Yeah.
Because eventually it's going to win and it's going to kill you. And so I know more of Greg's story. I'll let him share it. But I think it's real important to understand. And it's funny because I'm always talking about trying to get people to understand it's rare for people for drug addicts and alcoholics, that being the cause of their homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's usually a byproduct of their homelessness.
Right.
And we've talked about a lot of addiction in our last few episodes, But if you were really paying attention, the one thing you're going to catch in there is this happened, this happened, this happened, and this is where I found myself.
Right.
Okay. And here's the thing: we make it such a stigma, especially for men, to get things like counseling. You're supposed to be the hunter, you're supposed to be the provider, you're supposed to be the fixer. Greg's ultimate heart was to fix her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he could not do that.
Right.
And when people, especially men, get to that place where, whether it's a child, a spouse, what have you, and they can't fix them, that's a point of failure.
Right.
And that's where often self-medicating starts. And then it just takes on a life of its own. And that's where, people struggle when they hear about addiction being an illness, being a disease. I'm one that says yes and no. Do I believe that there's people that are more susceptible? I do.
Sure.
To my knowledge, there's never been a gene that said, okay, you've got this gene. Okay. But I believe there's people that are susceptible for whatever reason. They have addictive nature to them for whatever reason. At the same time, when it just feels like you're grabbing the sides and the sides just keep falling in, it's easier just to deaden yourself and just accept the fact that this is the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And one or two things will happen. You will die, or you have an awakening of some kind. And I think that's where Greg's story starts to play out.
Right. So speaking of an awakening, tell us about the first few times that you visited Matthew's Hope. What were your thoughts? What did you think when you visited?
Hope. I mean, that was the thing. I mean, I saw what was going on. I saw people that were getting through whatever they were doing. And it gave me something to do besides sit in my wherever and drink.
Mm-hmm.
I'd work 10 hours a day just to keep my mind going.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I knew it was divine intervention. I don't know what else to say.
And yet, let's go back to August 31st.
Yes. That was after I'd been in the garden for a while, and we were just still struggling and pulling weeds, man, because that just got me through, pulling weeds. Because by the time you got to the end, they were already starting to grow at the other end, and you could just go back and start over. And that was just to keep me rolling. And then I don't even remember what got me to that point where it was really bad that time. Because like I said, I didn't drink to be whatever. I think I might have just been short on money to keep it coming. But I had it, and I drank it, and it didn't do any good. And I'm laying there going, I'm 110 degrees, hasn't rained for 6 months, ants are chewing me up, I'm in this tent baking, I'm going to freaking die. Suck. I've been through all this crap, and I made it that far, and I have it go like this is just not what I wanted to do. So I just looked to the sky, looked to the sky and said, is there something else we got going on? I mean, you have another plan. I'm willing to listen. And it was kind of a blur after that. I remember crawling to the street. And
which is right out here.
Yeah, right on 50, right across from Captain D's. And somebody called an ambulance again. That wasn't the first time I've been picked up by an ambulance, taken to the hospital, dried out, out of van for 5 days. Great, get back out. I'm the one that can do it. I can go back to social drinking and not be a problem. And I knew the minute I opened that bottle, it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might not be next week, it might not be next month, but it's going to end bad. And you still took the drink. That day, I just prayed, and they came and picked me up. I went to the hospital. I got through the 5 days. I had a little visit from someone that told me, you feel better now. Doctor, thing around his neck, feeling better. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, great. You can go right back out there and start drinking again. And he goes, if you're lucky, you'll die. Because if not, they're going to drag you back in here and cut your guts out, and you're going to have to poop in a bag for the rest of your life. I was like, wow, okay, that's nice to know. Thanks, Doc. I didn't know what else to say at that point. And he's like, all right, well, have a good one. Out he went. And I was just like, half an hour later or so, I'm just like, weird. Nurse comes in. How you feeling? Doing better? Yeah, you're probably going to get out here tomorrow. And I'm like, all right, well, what was that doctor? I didn't understand what his take was on this. And she's like, I don't know who. And I'm like, the doctor that was just in here a little while ago. And she's like, your doctor's not here today. And I'm like, well, it was some other doctor. And she's like, no, there's no doctors on this floor. And I'm like, all right. To this day, I don't know who that man was. I know I was there. I mean, it's just emotional. Sorry. But it just went away. It just went away.
And that's how long ago now?
Yeah.
Over 10 years. That one drop.
So all your desires just went away.
It just went away.
That's amazing.
Poof.
Yeah.
I'm still getting goosebumps because it just, I mean, I tried so hard, so many times for the kids, for this, for that, for me, for you, for whoever. And it didn't work. It just kept coming back because that's what I was. And it went away. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I got to do something. So I have to find the next person. So that's pretty much been my story for 10 years now.
So what made Greg a good candidate for the Moving Forward program?
Well, first off, in my opinion, he had a direct visit from God himself. And I believe in that kind of thing. And I tell people all the time, I'm not a religious guy, but I am a God's guy. People struggle with that when they say, well, aren't you a pastor? And that, yeah, I am. That's true. But I'm a God's guy. I'm not a religious guy. And in first meeting with Greg is one, I could sense the pain he was in. I could sense there was a desire that was buried pretty deep, several layers down, to not continue in the life that he was leading. Because normally I took a very laid back approach with him as far as just letting him come and do his things. Because my feelings are, well, first I need somebody to pull weeds. We had a chemical-free garden. You're going to have weeds.
Darn right.
But secondly, I realized that was occupying his time. And as his time was occupied, he could not be drinking.
Right.
It's kind of like the program as well. Those of you that we didn't say this, but Greg has been on staff now how many years? 8 years. Okay. So that's why you see him in a black shirt. Those of you that are seeing him, if not, if you're listening, my staff is who wear the black shirts, and he has been very instrumental in the growth of our shop for our Matthew Soap Chest, which we're filming today, and the store taping in the store here today of furniture that he's been a part of helping be restored and built and what have you. But the bottom line was I kept seeing that when he came this time and shared what was going on. I can't tell you the exact words. He might, but I basically said, are we ready now?
Right. Right.
And he just hunkered down. And then at the time we were really we didn't have so much a shop per se, but we had a little place. People had given us some stuff. We had a little storage place over here on Plant Street. And it was somebody dropped something off, if I remember right, but just something. And if I remember right, and Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was you that said, oh, I can fix that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my attitude was, okay, that's great. Well, then somebody came back by and wanted to buy it. I said, what? That's kind of cool. And then we got talking, and I learned more about his two things. It wasn't like Greg had this ability to build furniture. He was a mechanic. But being a mechanic made him unafraid of trying things, but he was also an artist, painting and whatever. So he understood textures and colors and things like this. So, I mean, literally what happened is all of a sudden we were having people come in with various gifts, and somehow I got them to start cross-training each other on what each other knew. And that literally is how the Hope Chest was birthed.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it's not like one of my things where I get up one day and say, we're going to open up a shop and we're going to do this. And, you've been around when I've come up with, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
It wasn't that at all. It was all of a sudden, it was just right in front of me. And I'm going, we got to do this.
We don't have a choice. Yeah.
Yeah. And he made the commitment. And I think making the commitment of that and being allowed to recognize in others what he saw in himself. I often say, you don't know what you got until you start giving yourself away. And there was something very therapeutic too for a lot of our guests in simply learning the proper way to sand a piece of wood. We've had some write poems about it. And
Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Greg was believable before even being on staff, when I say believable, I meant when he's talking to other people, he's talking from a place of
Yeah.
knowledge,
Correct.
a lived experience.
Yeah.
And again, I think that when it came time to take it the next step further, is when we then said, why don't you come on board as an employee?
So when people join our program, we actually require them to do 90 meetings in 90 days.
Yeah.
Talk about why that is so important.
And I don't know if we did that with you back then or not. I think you
6
did
days a
more.
week for 9 months. Because every time I said I got it, you said, nope, you're getting more.
I remember that.
And
right
I'm like,
now.
what? Jesus saved me.
Yeah.
And you don't understand. And you're like, oh yeah, that's the first step of relapse.
Yeah,
It's all right.
Thank you for reminding me of that. Because he would come back to the completion of what he had, and then it was like, no, you're doing more.
Yeah.
And I think the reasons it's important, first off, it's kind of like, first off, you're making a commitment to something, and not a commitment to us, but a commitment to yourself that even if you don't like it, you're going to go there. Because I've had guys say to me, it's kind of like, when you're in our housing, you go to church, and I've said guys that say, well, I'm not a believer. I said, that's fine. I'm not here to convert you. However, I want you to sit someplace each Sunday for an hour, hour and a half, where you can just be still. Because I also know what God will do in that time.
Reflect.
Right. And so rather than him pushing back, he kind of would give me a look like, are you kidding me? We're going to do this more. But he did, that's as far as he really bucked it. He didn't really push back too hard. And because I think he also saw that his life was coming together with still a lot of messy pieces, because at this point she had not passed away yet.
No.
And so he was getting these phone calls and stuff from the kids, from her, and he would find him. And this is why I kept him in the meetings also, because she was throwing that trauma back on him again. And he felt responsible for the kids. He felt responsible for it. Now, these are not little kids either.
Right.
I don't remember how old they were at the time, but
no, the one's 38 now.
Yeah,
And the
so
other one's 21.
these are young men.
Yeah.
Okay. The one being a younger, a bit younger, but there's that responsibility on the caretaker. Okay. And her coming back on him, and you would see him, he would start to get, not that he was going to drink, but mentally it would throw him off his game, and you could see it.
Yeah, it would. And she'd use the kids to say,
Sure.
come on, let mom have another chance. And that's the way it was since they were born. It was always, she promises this time it's going to be great. And it would be for a long time. And then all of a sudden it wasn't. And that up and down is what just
45 years of that is a lot for any person.
So, Greg, what have you been able to accomplish during your time in the Moving Forward program that you would not have been able to accomplish otherwise?
Well, I went back to school, and got a degree, which unfortunately is worthless now because of AI. But other than that, it was a good experience just to get the brain working again.
It was a commitment you made and finished, right?
And we have to, be in a formaldehyde for all those years. I just wanted to get it moving again, and it worked out well. Plus, I wanted to get a computer, and you can't have a want, you have to have a need. So they're like, no, you can't have a computer just because you want it. I'm like, oh yeah, watch this. I'll go sign up for graphic design at Valencia, and now I have to have a computer.
I gotta have a computer.
Yeah.
Yes, and I got one, and I still have it.
Yeah.
And I still use it. And that's one of my little things that I have that shows that I made it. Not made it, but got through. Let's put it
Sure.
I'm never going to make it because I'm going to keep striving, but it got me through. And that gave me more things to do. Again, keep my brain working, keep it focused. And, and then the best thing was just working with the people at work at the shop. I mean, just seeing them and getting inspired over making something cool. It's like, there's just nothing like seeing that and seeing their face just light up. I mean, to me, that's my most rewarding thing about it, is that I live for those moments. But I kind of got off the question.
No, you're listening,
but
because you were there. That was what I got when I would see you say, let me show you this.
I still do. I mean, like,
Yeah, you do.
David, like right now, he did that. It's just like kicking booty on it. And it's like, he's got good style and everything,
It's cool.
Other people they don't have as much interest in it, but it still gets them that sense of doing something and being, getting accomplishing.
And so people know also that are listening is none of this was put together because I wanted to sell furniture, okay,
Right.
and home decor and stuff. That's not. It really was an opportunity for us to do two things. One, we could observe as a team their work ethic.
Mhm.
Who was going to show up, do their thing, because they treat it like a job. They clock in and out. They take breaks. They do everything you would in a typical job, probably even more tightly run than a typical job anymore. But it also allowed them to get out of their own head a little bit
Oh, yeah.
when they're putting something together, designing something, or coming up with an idea and seeing it come to fruition. That's a huge mental reward
Oh,
that you
absolutely.
get. Now you have the benefit of sharing what you know with someone else and watch them do it. So
Yeah.
not they're getting rewarded. When you see that reward, it rewards you. It's kind of weird how it works, but it works.
Uh-huh.
It works.
And it's a great metaphor for what we're doing as Matthew's Hope. Like I always tell the people that come through, somebody throws an old dresser on the side of the road. It doesn't look good. The drawers don't work right. It's useless, ugly. Get it out of here. I don't want
It's
to look at
trash.
it no more. Yeah. So we used to pick it up on the side of the road with the pickup truck,
Mhm.
bring it back to the shop, put the drawers back together, sand it down, paint it up, make it look good, make it function correctly, make it aesthetically nice. And next thing you know, we sold it 2 days later for $150. Something that was picked up off the side of the road that nobody wanted. Then everybody wanted it. Amazing how just a little bit of that. And it's kind of like what we're doing with the people.
Yeah.
Restoring, rebuilding,
Yep.
repurposing.
Yeah. And that's, to me, that's what I need to do. That's my goal now. I mean, the other thing was humbling to me. That this whole thing has been very humbling at the beginning there, where it just, because I kind of skated through life, had enough brains to be able to get through things. And maybe things I shouldn't have got through, and maybe it would have been sooner, but I always seemed to get out of whatever was in it, whether it was my doing or not. Mostly it wasn't, but I had to get other people out of trouble. Could have got a law degree, but yeah. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. That's what I'm focused on, getting the next person up and through and get them going and get them out and get them, even if they're not making it through the program, a lot of them are still getting out there and doing better.
They're doing better. And we've talked to people the last few episodes where they may not have completed the entire program, but they took what they learned and were able to put those into place and understand that those things had value.
Mhm.
The other thing that I have loved about it too, and if anybody's been paying attention, is our folks that have come through the program that are either on staff now or even graduated and doing something else for a living. How many of them are now reaching back to the one behind them to help them take the next step? And I think that's something rewarding, and it's something, someone asked me a while back that, don't you worry about some of these people you've hired that came through your program? I said, not at all. I said, the first off, they're my people. I said, secondly, is that there's not much they haven't seen. And so they're able to look through a very different lens
Right.
than others can look through. And there's some other thing I want to, because you were asking him about some other thing. I know there's some other things that he got the computer out of it. Anything else happened
Oh,
along
I
the
got
way?
a vehicle that I still drive. My 5 extra points a week. Got that paid off. Um,
Now, again, I want people to kind of throwing this together for those listening who don't understand is before Greg became an employee, he worked for points. Points are backed by real dollars.
Yep.
But you can virtually pretty much get anything that you need if you're willing to work for it. In his case, he was able to get his computer, and then he was able to get a vehicle, which therefore gave him more responsibility. It also gave him more freedom.
and a bigger gut.
And well,
Got off the bike and onto the car.
you were, well, I will tell you, he's one of the most determined guys. Because what was interesting is that when he was going to school, the bus back home from the college didn't run all the way back up here. It shut down like out
Yeah.
by the mall, which is probably how many miles from here?
A few, but that was the good days.
Yeah.
And then Hiawassee was where the big thing. If the last bus had 2 bikes on it, you're riding from Hiawassee, which is
Wow.
11 miles.
Wow.
So
can you imagine where you'd be without Matthew's Hope today?
I would like to say I'd still be alive. Where I would be, I I can't, no, I don't know. I don't know where I would be, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Not where I am now. I know that. Mentally, physically, emotionally, 10 times better, 100 times better. I still have my moments. I mean, I'm an emotional wreck always. I always have been. I always used to say I was physically strong, which now I know, but mentally strong, but emotionally just a wreck. And, and that's coming around now. We're still having moments, but
It's okay.
It's okay though.
part of
Yeah,
just
that is.
having feeling.
Yeah.
And I think that's, people that try to, I think one of the tough things for men in particular is that we're kind of taught to hold our emotions in and what have you. And
I did
that
for
is
so
not
many
healthy.
years. I did.
Well, you had to be the most, in your house, you had to be the most stable, whatever stability was there, you had to be it. That's a lot to carry for that many years.
I don't even know how I did it, to be honest with you. I mean, not that I did, because it just didn't work out, but but that's the hardest part for me, is not being able to fix
You did the
something.
best you knew how.
Correct.
Yeah.
Whether that was the best possible, maybe not, but
Right.
best I knew how to
Right.
deal with that kind of thing. Like I said, growing up, I didn't have a lot of worries. I mean, I was highly protected by my parents, and I find out later that she had 2 miscarriages with boys, and that's why I was highly protected, because I was the only boy, and I couldn't figure out why I wasn't allowed to ride my bike to the store 5 blocks away when I was 12. It's like, you might get run over by a car or kid out there. What? So I lived that kind of life. So then when I got older, it was like, let me out of here and go. And then
Freedom.
I ran into the wild woman, and that's where we went. And it was a whole lot of fun through the 80s. Let me tell you, we had a great time. And it was great. And that was the hardest part, because when she was right, she was right. Greatest mom ever, the greatest woman ever. Funny, witty, smart, the whole 9 yards. But then when it flipped, it was hell. And that's what started me there. And that's what got me where I was. But anyway, sorry, I digress.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be where I am now without He's Hope. And that's why I'm committed. I mean, I am gonna have to boot me, man, because
We've decided you're a keeper at this point.
well, that could change next week.
I have my moods.
So do I. But
You do. But, I will tell you, again, it shows so much to how we're a product of our environment, that also, I mean, we literally, and we're still working on it, Days, is, he had parents that held on to everything. Greg sees value in everything.
He does.
And it's not so much that he doesn't have value. What I say to him is, we have to decide, how much is it going to cost? How many hundreds am I going to pay to save this $5 item?
Right.
Okay.
so that's where I'm at now, is in condensing cost effectiveness. That's when we're really, that's one of the other things with the guests and stuff, because you can go spend 20 minutes, 45 minutes making something and sell it for $50 is great. But when you spend 5 hours painting and detailing a keychain,
How long did we try to teach you that?
5 minutes.
It's funny
$5
hearing him say
It
it,
is.
because
It is.
I walked into the shop one day and Greg is up underneath this table. I'm like, what are you doing? He said, I'm finishing the spot underneath the table. I said, the underside? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I don't want to leave the shop like this. I said, Greg, do you know that most people, if they went to their house right now, and I challenge people to do this, go to your home, get on your hands and knees, put yourself on your back, and look at the bottom of your table. One thing you're going to find is not finished. Number 2, you're going to find there's either stamps or a piece of
right. Yeah.
or pieces of paper where they've been stapled into it.
Yeah.
Talking about where it came from, how it was shipped, and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And many of us have had that furniture in our house for 10, 15 years.
Never knew
it was there.
Right.
And here Greg is finishing it. And I'm going, Greg, I can sell that table for $150. You got 500 into it. The numbers don't math. You got to help me out here.
Right.
He goes, well, I wanted to be right. And being a bit of a perfectionist myself, I appreciate that. But to try to get him to change his thinking, and because I never want us to ever play a place where it's like, good is good enough.
Right. Because that's
But
hard for
that's
me. I remember
hard.
you always telling me your 80% is as good as everybody else's 100.
Yes.
I'm like, well, you do your job 80%. How
Yeah.
easy is that? It's not.
Well, and when he did fight back, that's that kind of logic he fought back with, and I'm going, okay, he's right, because I'm not going to do my job. at
No,
80%.
you won't. You're only going to
You
go
know.
down to maybe 110.
However, I could figure out how to get the company, the ministry, to get their money's worth out of me. I had to figure out how to get my money's worth out of you.
Now I passed that point because I tell when they're like, should we do something on the underside? I'm like, no. The only ones going to see it are the drunks and the infants. So that's right. That's my famous line. The people passed out on the floor are the infants. The only ones
And they
gonna
won't
see it.
remember.
And they won't remember.
Correct.
Or be able to tell anybody
we
else
are
what they
past
saw.
that point.
So
But yeah.
So for several years at our fundraising events, you've always done your painting to help raise money for Matthew's Hope. So is there anything that you would like to add to help to try to say to people to get them to, actually consider supporting Matthew's Hope? So then that has been one of the ways you've supported Matthew's Hope.
Anything helps, and that's what we're based on. Is even $1 from if everybody gave $1, I think we'd be fine.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
So just give what you can. Don't, but I mean, how much is a life worth?
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
So that's a great question.
And how many have we changed? I don't want to say saved, but but maybe there is some we have, but changed is a good thing. And how much is that worth?
Right.
Like I said, when you look around this community around here, you don't see the same thing as you see other places.
Right.
When it comes to the homeless people.
And they're here.
And it's not only that they just visually fit in, but their thinking is different. They know how to fit in. Let's put it that way. They know how to, get through without having people try to hassle them or whatever, whatever. And I think that's one of the best. That's a start, it's a start. And yeah, sorry, I'm kind of get off track, but it's
I think it's well said when you say, what is the biggest thing you said right there is what is a life worth?
Right.
And I always want to challenge my Christian fellows out there to ask themselves that next time they see someone, rather than try to figure out what's wrong with them and what they've done wrong to be on the streets, ask yourself what took place in that person's life that allowed them to accept that life, to live like that, and ask yourself what you can do. I've been saying for years now, do what you can, not what you can't. But can you imagine, quite honestly, we have something like, between our Facebook and social media pages, I think we're approaching somewhere around 35,000 followers. And, can you imagine if each one of them made a $10 commitment to us a month?
Once a month, I know. And
what would happen?
Any of us could do that.
I mean, I appreciate the likes, the hearts, the hugs, the comments. But the truth is, I mean, when you're in the $15 million range to do what we're doing, and God, for whatever reason, continues to add to what we're doing in the future, so it will only cost more. I think that when you sit down with people like Greg and you get to hear their stories and you get to see where they came from, where they're going, where they're at, the money's well spent. We want to be good stewards of what you offer us, but I want you to feel, when I say you, I say that I look at our donors as investors, and you should expect a return on your investment. And Greg is a return on your investment. You invested, and here his life is now compared to what it was, or the fact that he's even here talking with us.
Thank you, Greg, for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
You did great.
I appreciate it.
I knew you would. You did great.
So that if you're not watching this, you're here listening, I will just tell you that Greg is not someone who desires to get in front of a microphone or a camera, and he's got several of them around him right now. So this is not his comfort zone, but I appreciate you being raw and real.
I appreciate it. And now you don't have to say it anymore.
Now you don't have to do it again.
No, I don't mind. Like I said, I don't mind, because when the tours come through and stuff like that, they need to know too. And then it's right there in their face, and that gives them a better understanding of what's going on. Because when you do see it through the tour and coming in and watching it on Tuesday and Thursday, I mean, everybody, not to a 99.9% of the people are like, holy moly, I don't know, what is this?
Yeah.
We've never seen anything like this. This is the greatest thing on the earth as far as the homeless community goes. And it is. It's one of one, and it's the best in the nation. And I hear that over and over by the people that barely even know us. I mean,
Yeah.
And these are heads of corporations and medical people
that
that
I've seen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that control the money.
And control the money, yes.
And that's always good for them to know that. I mean,
And a quick reminder on what he just said too is, those of you that are local, either in Brevard or Orange County, we want to encourage you that we can only show you so much through our Moving Forward magazine and our podcast, but we have an open invitation to you to call the office and make an appointment to take a tour. Either myself, Shelley, Shannon, Charlene, one of us, somebody will give you a tour. And we like to do it on an outreach day because we want you to see what the organized chaos looks like.
It makes a difference to see it.
It does. It's very hard. The hardest thing about Matthew's Hope is describing exactly what we do and how we do it. You really got to kind of see it. So that invitation has been put out there.
Well,
and the image that people have usually of a homeless person is,
yep.
Yeah.
But you go there and on Tuesday and Thursday, everybody's smiling, everybody's having a good time. They're all socializing. They're feeling real, human.
It's a good way to put it.
Well, thanks, Greg.
You're welcome.
And thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast to help us reach a larger audience.